Hey starlets, it's Ally Lewber and welcome to StarStruck. Today, we're going to switch it up a little bit and do an astrological take on one of Hollywood's classic stars, Audrey Hepburn. I will be diving into her birth chart to see if her fate was truly written in the stars. At Open Mind, we value your support, so please share your thoughts on social media and remember to rate, review, and follow StarStruck to help others discover the show. If you missed StarStruck Live with me, Charlie, and Dana, now you have the chance to join in on the fun, even after the fact. So go to pave.events, that's pave.events, and join us like it's live. On-demand access in September 9th. Okay, so before we get into Audrey's chart, let's do a little visit at what's happening this week with the astrology. Let's do a little cosmic forecast, a little check-in. So this week we do have Saturn making a sextile to Pluto, and it's also in Aries. So let's talk about what this aspect means. Saturn is the planet of structure, commitment, and discipline. And Pluto is the planet of power and transformation and low-key obsession. And because it's happening in Aries, Saturn is in Aries, this isn't passive energy. It's bold, it's direct, super driven. In plain terms, this transit is like power with purpose. So if you've been plotting something behind the scenes, whether it's like a career move or just personal growth, a slow burn glow up, this is the green light to go from prep mode to execution. Think boss energy, but make it ethical. You're not bulldozing, you're building. You're not manipulating, you're magnetizing. This is also a vibe check on how you relate to influence. So do you collaborate to make things happen? Or do you get tempted to pull the strings behind the curtain? Because this aspect rewards integrity, Saturn, and long-term vision, also Saturn, but it remembers if you use power just to flex, Pluto, and with Aries in the mix, this is less strategic, mastermind, and more, I have a mission and I'm not afraid to make the first move. So whether you're negotiating a raise, planning a launch, or if you're just trying to hit send on a text message, this energy says, if it's aligned, it's time. So just check your motives. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to try a new little fun segment where we rank the signs. And because we were just talking about Aries and there's just a lot of astrology happening this year, let's have some fun with it. Usually I try to stay positive, but let's get a little toxic. I want to rank the Zodiac signs that I think can be the most toxic in love. And of course, I have to preface this by saying no shade whatsoever. There is good and bad to every Zodiac sign, okay? Okay, let's start with number 5, Pisces. Pisces, we love you, you beautiful little mermaid. But we're going to be honest, your water gets a little murky in romantic relationships. And the toxic traits can be that Pisces can play the victim. They can be overly romantic and idealize their partner. So they're not really living in reality. So think, I'm going to write poetry about you before our second date kind of vibes. Number 4, Aries. They're impulsive lovers, and it always ends up biting them in the ass. Not always, but a lot of the times. They fall in love fast, and they fall out of love even faster. So the vibe here, it's like, let's move in together now. And then a month later, it's like, wait, I'm bored. Bye. Number 3, I'm going to say Virgos. Sorry. Virgos are just a bit analytical, and that can kind of shoot them in the foot sometimes in a relationship because it can lead the partner to feeling judged or like they aren't doing enough. So Virgos, you can just be a little toxic because you're just 10 steps ahead of everyone else, and sometimes we can't keep up. And number 2, Geminis. Look, sometimes stereotypes exist for a reason, okay? And yes, Gemini, you can be sneaky. Their toxic traits, they're flirtatious with everyone, and they're super non-committal, and they have a tendency to ghost a lot. This energy here is like, oops, I forgot to text you back for 3 days kind of thing. But that's because Geminis are really great communicators. They just have so much going on that it's really hard for them to focus on like one thing. So if you have a crush on a Gemini, good luck. Okay, and the number one sign that is the most toxic in relationships is an unevolved Scorpio. Once a Scorpio loves you, they own you. Their toxic traits are that they can be jealous, controlling, and very emotionally intense. The energy here is serving like you belong to me vibes. And honestly, an evolved Scorpio, it's passion. And Scorpios are just trying to find like their ultimate connection, their soulmate. If it's not coming from the right place, it can be pretty intense and toxic. Okay, now let's talk about the 5 most toxic signs at work. Coming in number 5, Aries. I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. Aries can be really hardcore at work. The pros, they're fearless, they're competitive, and they get their done. But the cons, they're hot-headed, impatient, and they're always right. Okay, number 4, Leos. They're just extra, and we love them for it. But when we are at work, it can be possibly a little toxic because it's a team effort. We're trying to work together, and Leos don't know how to do that. You are obviously confident, creative, and can be pretty inspiring leaders, though. I will give you that. And number 3, Geminis. You're charismatic, adaptable, quick thinking. You know what I'm going to say. Can be a little bit gossipy and a bit of a drama queen, which in the workplace can be difficult, even though you're everyone's favorite coworkers, because we all want the tea. Number 2, Capricorns. They are born to be entrepreneurs, and they can be ruthless when it comes to business. They're hardworking, efficient, natural leaders, but they are workaholics. They can be cold, and they expect everyone to match the intensity that they bring. And it's exhausting. And I'm a Capricorn, and I think it's exhausting. Capricorn's energy is just a one-track mind, and they have really high expectations, and they like things done a certain way. And that can be exhausting for people in your workspace because not everyone is ever going to be as talented as you. And the most toxic sign to work with, I'm sorry I'm calling you out against Scorpio. But my God, if you cross one, heaven help you, honestly. They are strategic, they are ambitious, and they will outwork you, even Capricorns. They can also be secretive, and they can hold grudges forever. So they will either be your best friend, your ride or die, your whatever people call them, their like work wife. It's either that or like they will seek revenge and they will destroy you. And again, this is for fun, okay? If we can't make fun of ourselves, what are we doing here? Every sign has its amazing qualities and qualities that we are meant to learn from. So take it with a grain of salt or don't take it at all. Okay, up next, I'm going to dive into Audrey Hepburn's birth chart. Was her fate written in the stars? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back, starlets. All right, I want to talk about one of my all-time favorite legends, Audrey Hepburn. I'm going to do a deep dive into her chart to see if her life was fated by the stars. Spoiler, it was. So let's jump in. Okay, before we begin, let's do the too long didn't read version of Audrey first. She was born on May 4th, 1929 in Belgium. She went through some serious hardships during World War II, including hunger and malnutrition, but she did not let that stop her. She moved to London to pursue ballet, but eventually, as we know, she switched gears into acting. And her big break came in 1951 with my all-time favorite movie, Roman Holiday, which totally skyrocketed her to fame. It even got her an Oscar, and her life was really never the same after that movie. But Audrey was known for her grace, her poise, and that timeless style. But she also did a lot of humanitarian work, especially in her later years with UNICEF. And she made a huge difference for kids all over the world. She died on January 20th, 1993 at just 63 years old. Okay, so let's start with her big three. And for those of you that don't know, the big three is our sun sign, our moon sign, and our rising sign or our ascendant. The sun is our core identity. It's like the main vibe, but it's also really who we are becoming. It's where we shine. It's where we feel happy and confident. So always think of your sun sign as what we want or who we are becoming. The moon sign represents your emotions and it's all the feels. It is also what we need. It is a non-negotiable. It is how we nurture ourselves. And then the rising sign, this is how we go about getting it all. And this is how we show up every single day. It's our autopilot. It's our energy. It's what takes us from point A to point B. It's how we move through life. Think of that as like the entire flavor of someone's birth chart. So how do we create the chart? I use birth details, so you need the date, the time, and the place of the exact birth. Time is crucial because it sets up the whole chart. Without it, it is like trying to find your way without maps. So let's get into Audrey's big three. Audrey's sun is in Taurus. She's my favorite example of a Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign. It's known for being steady, grounded, and super elegant. They're also known for their love of beauty and the finer things in life, which totally makes sense for someone as iconic and stylish as Audrey. She had a knack for making everything look effortlessly chic. Plus, Taurus's energy is all about loyalty and determination, which helped her stay resilient through the ups and downs of her career. This love for beauty and elegance showed in her fashion choices and her timeless style. Her Taurus sun helped her stay strong and persevere through many tough times in her life. I feel like she is the most perfect example of a Taurus because we know that she is so resilient and strong just from her upbringing and all that she went through. But then also she was a ballerina, trying to be a prima ballerina. And anybody who's ever done ballet or who knows anyone who does it, that's not easy. And it takes a lot of willpower, a lot of literal strength, mental strength, and she genuinely wanted to be a prima ballerina, but because her early childhood and the malnutrition that she experienced, she was not physically strong enough to have what it takes to make it all the way. So she persevered. She took on Hollywood. Very Taurus vibes. I always think of Taurus as like the long cigarette holder. Very Audrey. Next, her moon is in Pisces, adding a dreamy, sensitive side to her personality. The moon is how we nurture ourselves. And when we have a Pisces moon, we nurture ourselves through Pisces-type themes. Music, art, movies. It's a touch of escapism, fantasy. It's a dreamer. Audrey also had a very, very close relationship with her mother. Her father left when she was a child, but she was very close with her mom. And her mom also was her biggest fan and always inspired her to follow her dreams and to believe in herself. And so having a Pisces moon, it's a dreamer placement. Also, if you're a Pisces moon, literally dreams. The moon represents dreams. Pisces is the zodiac sign of dreams. So Pisces moons tend to have very vivid, very telling dreams. But Audrey having a Pisces moon, this also explains her deep empathetic nature, her ability to build rapport with anyone, her charm, her elegance, her softness. She's like very ethereal looking and very fragile almost, which is very Pisces. Okay, her rising sign. Her rising sign is Aquarius, which is where we see her kind of unique, quirky, forward-thinking aura. Aquarius rising people are known for their independence, their originality, and their humanitarian spirit. And I do believe this is why she became such an icon. She was really breaking barriers, not just because of her beauty, but for her individuality, her innovative approach to life, and just her kindness. This is what we see, especially later on in her life when she kind of set aside acting and leaned more into philanthropy, and she worked with UNICEF and traveled around to different countries and helped starving children. That is the perfect example of an evolved Aquarius. It is all about how can I make the world a better place? How can I leave the world a little bit better than I found it, while also leaving a mark, which she definitely did. Up next, it's time to go a little bit deeper. Audrey's major career breakthroughs, her complicated love life, and so much more. Stay tuned. Welcome back, starlets. I'm looking at the chart of Audrey Hepburn to see if the stars played a role in her life. So let's get into the juicy stuff now, her love life, and so much more. But first, let's start with her major breakout role, Roman Holiday. It's my favorite movie ever. When she was cast in Roman Holiday, Jupiter was in Aries. Audrey has her Venus placement in Aries, which means this is already a very prominent part of her birth chart. She has Aries ruling her third house, which is the house of storytelling and community and sharing a message with the world. It's a very positive house as well. So the fact that Jupiter was transiting her third house of storytelling, making a beautiful conjunction with Venus, which is the planet of love. These are two very positive planets, by the way. Venus is how we spoil ourselves. Jupiter is how we experience life. So they're very positive. So when these two planets team up, we get good news and we get big breakthroughs in our life. And it's definitely clear that this transit really set the stage for her entire career, because this is when she got cast in her first movie, which she won an Oscar for. So this is, again, the role that changed everything for her. This transit is also aligned with Audrey's Aquarius rising, which emphasizes individuality, innovation, and breaking the mold. So this really marked the beginning of Audrey's rise to stardom. Throughout Audrey's career, she had a few love interests. I was actually watching a documentary over the weekend with my aunt, and I didn't realize that she was kind of the lady about town. Not in a bad way, of course, but in a way where she genuinely enjoyed going out at night, meeting people. She was flirty and she had this charm to her, and I think she just enjoyed using it on people. She also is the best at breakups. At least in the documentary that we were watching, she was really great at being honest and direct and just being release me, please. And then would just float off and move on to her next fling. It was quite impressive. She had a lot of love relationships in her life. Audrey did not have a relationship with her dad, and this really broke her heart. She was always trying to write to him and find him. And so the moon represents how we nurture ourselves and what we need, and it's our family. And with her Pisces moon, again, the dreamer and just this kind, sweet, hopeless, romantic energy, Audrey, I think, was always trying to kind of fill that fatherly role with the men in her life. So she has Venus square Mars and Venus square Pluto. This is all about power dynamics. Pluto equals power, Venus equals relationships. So when these two planets aren't in the best alignment in our chart, we can see some friction, and we can definitely see some power dynamics in relationships. So this aspect can bring out issues like jealousy, possessiveness, and a deep fear of not being fully loved or valued. Audrey's relationships had a lot of this simmering tension, especially when it came to control and trust. It's what made her love life, I guess, a bit of a roller coaster. Audrey first married actor Mel Ferrer on September 25th, 1954. That Venus-Pluto square likely brought out some of these challenges. It's been said that he grew jealous of her success and began to get very controlling over the types of roles that she would accept or roles that she was interested in. Both Audrey and Mel were unfaithful during their marriage, which ended in divorce in November 1968. Audrey also had Venus square Mars. This placement is all about passion. Mars is passion and action and sex, and Venus is relationships. So Venus square Mars, there's still some tension because a square, it's not a negative aspect, but it does mean we have to pay attention. We have to put in some work there. It's not harmonious. But this placement, all about passion. But on the flip side, it definitely can cause conflict and clashes in relationships if not focused on or tended to. And it can create this push-pull dynamic. Audrey likely experienced a lot of internal conflict about what she wanted in love, and this might have spilled over into her relationships. Also, Audrey's Venus placement was in Aries, which makes her fiery in her relationships, which isn't necessarily the sweet Pisces moon that we maybe see on our screens, but she wanted passion and she wanted it to feel fun and alive. And she loved to go out on the town and dance and have a good time. So she needed that excitement. And Aries, they can get bored if they don't feel this like enthusiasm in their romantic life. So that could have led to some turbulence as well. After her divorce from Mel Ferrer, Audrey married Andrea Doty on January 18th, 1969. It ended in 1982, and there was infidelity again on both sides here as well. With Venus, again, squaring Mars, Audrey may have struggled with feelings of dissatisfaction or conflict within herself. And again, that kind of manifested in her relationship world. I will say that though those romantic relationships didn't end how I'm sure she once hoped and imagined, she did have children, 2 boys, with both of her husbands. Ever since she was a little girl, Audrey always wanted to be a mom. It's something that she talked about often, and it was even, sometimes part of issues with working with her on film sets because she was always trying to get pregnant. So even though those marriages didn't work out, they did allow Audrey to become a mom, which is what she always wanted. And by the way, in her birth chart, her Taurus sun lives in the 4th house. So with the birth chart, there's 12 houses. Each house basically rules an area of life. The 4th house represents family, home, foundation. It's our entire base of our chart. And it's where our grandma lives and our grandma's grandma, and it's our entire lineage. She shines here because that's where her sun lives. Not her S-O-N, her S-U-N, her Taurus sun. So because she has her sun here, that feels really good. That's where she's always wanted to be. Remember, the sun is what we want. So because Audrey has that sun in her 4th house, that's an area that she's very proud of. And it's opposite the 10th house, which is where we see fame and the stage. And, it kind of just reminds us that even though she was this starlet and she was so adored, that she felt happiest at home. And that's where she felt truly like herself. So that pretty much wraps up her love life. But let's talk about Breakfast at Tiffany's. Movies were really big in my house, and my grandparents had all of Audrey Hepburn's tapes. And just growing up, we watched all of her movies all the time. So I grew up like watching her on the screen, and I always loved her, of course. But my high school childhood bedroom was Breakfast at Tiffany's themed. I literally painted the walls like Tiffany blue. I had portraits of Audrey Hepburn everywhere. I wanted it to feel like I was literally inside Tiffany's. Breakfast at Tiffany's was absolutely the movie that I feel really, sparked Audrey Hepburn or like put her into legend category. She was a star regardless of this movie. She would have gone down in history, but Audrey Hepburn is an icon, and it's because of this movie. By the way, I'd love to know your guys' thoughts, so let me know, but this is kind of like controversial, but Breakfast at Tiffany's, if you've seen it, a lot of people don't like it. Like a lot of people watch this movie and they're like, what is going on? It's kind of a wild plot and it's a little bit all over the place. I personally love it, with the exception of the racism that went on with Mickey Rooney's character. Let's just we have to address that. However, besides that, the movie itself is really beautiful in my eyes. People get so caught up in the details and, the storyline, which makes sense. But Breakfast at Tiffany's was originally a book by Truman Capote. And if you've read the book, it explains Holly Golightly's character in much more detail. She was a free spirit and she was lost. And that's kind of the whole point, is she's supposed to be this super annoying, honestly, type B, messy person that just wants to have a little bit of control in her life, but she doesn't. And that is the beauty of her finding Paul, which she calls Fred, because he looks like her brother Fred. It's a weird movie, honestly, but it's beautiful. It's timeless. I fell in love with the movie originally because of the costumes and the fashion. I think every look that she has in the movie is truly iconic. But the scene where she throws Kat out because she doesn't feel she has an identity herself. So why would she ever own a cat? or an animal in general because she doesn't feel that that is right. So she throws Kat out the window and it's heartbreaking. It's raining. It's New York City and she throws this cat out and then she realizes that she made a huge mistake. And that is, to me, the message of the whole movie is that we're not meant to do life alone and we are meant to open ourselves up and to be honest and love. She gets the cat back and then she also gets Paul. The movie was released on October 5th, 1961. At this time, Jupiter and Saturn were conjunct in Capricorn. Capricorn equals legacy. That is the sign that is all about leaving a lasting mark, doing work that you are so proud of that it can't not be talked about for the rest of eternity. So this is a super powerful aspect that only happens every 20 years. So when these two planets come together, especially in a sign like Capricorn, it's like the universe is giving you the tools to level up if you're willing to put in the work. And she's a Taurus, so that's easy for her. Capricorn vibes are all about ambition, discipline, persistence, and Capricorns are known for being hardworking and a bit of a workaholic. But the Capricorn influence brought out her determination and discipline and helped her push through a lot of like imposter syndrome, honestly, and doubts and fear that she was experiencing on the film set. Because again, she didn't necessarily feel like she was the right fit for that role, which is hilarious. But with Saturn involved, it wasn't just about glam and the outfits. It was about hard work and responsibility. And she also was a mother at this time, so she was balancing a lot. So the Capricorn energy can also bring out some challenging traits like being overly critical of ourselves, feeling the weight of responsibility. So she was surely dealing with a lot of pressure from herself and the industry. But in her birth chart, she had Venus in her second house trining Neptune in her 10th house. This brought a whole layer of mystique and glamour to her public image and career. It's almost like Neptune was giving her this little boost of beauty and magic, which that combined with hard work, I mean, that sounds like a good formula to me. Neptune, I call Neptune the LA planet because it's all about dreams and illusions and magic, and it's not real. So this placement gave Audrey this like natural ability to captivate people with her performance and her public persona. So all of that combined with the Capricorn energy is what I believe gave that role and her outfits kind of that legendary vibe that's still prominent today. It's totally Venus trine Neptune at work. So that's a little bit about what the influence of the stars had on her star power. And now let's move on to something more sad, which is her death, because I saw something really interesting in her chart. Audrey passed away at 63 on January 20th in 1993. Now, I was taking a look at the placements in her 6th house, which, by the way, is the house of wellness, health, and basically how we take care of ourselves to see how that house might have affected her. And Audrey had Mars in her 6th house natally. Mars is this fiery, action-packed planet. And when it's in the 6th house, it can really heat things up. And like literally, it can heat things up. This placement can actually affect your digestive system and your appendix. And Audrey actually died of a super rare cancer of her appendix. With this placement, if things go wrong, if there's some other negative aspects happening, it can lead to issues like inflammation or blood-related problems, like high blood pressure. So people with Mars in the 6th house, you can be prone to this or even prone to surgeries. Mars can also weaken the immune system if it's not in a well-placed spot. Since Mars is connected to red blood cells, that is what helps build immunity. So having it in the 6th house can mean your defenses might not be as strong as they should be. So, by the way, if you do have Mars in your 6th house, do not fear. I always say with Mars, it's the problematic child planet. And what that means is if we're paying attention to Mars, he's great. If we're ignoring Mars, he's like coloring on the walls and he's making a mess. So what we need to do, by the way, we all have Mars somewhere in our chart. So wherever Mars lives in our birth chart, respectively, we need to pay attention to that area because there's a lot of action and there's a lot of heat in that spot of our chart. So if you have Mars in the 6th house, that's just a good note to make sure that you have healthy routines, things like nutrition, working out, all of that is important. And just, doctor appointments and making sure that you are taking care of yourself, basically. But nothing to fear. Mars in the 6th house can also be all about work and being busy and enjoying like the hustle of the day-to-day life as well. So on the day of Audrey's death and just around that time period in general, Mars was transiting her 6th house, which is where she has her natal Mars placement. So with Mars transiting her natal Mars, there was a lot of Mars happening around that time. And also just as a reminder too, with her experiences during World War II and how she, experienced childhood hunger and she was very malnutritioned. She had a lot of eating issues going into her adult life. And those experiences also might have contributed to her ultimate death. Also, she did experience a miscarriage with her first baby with Mel Ferrer. She was actually filming a movie in Mexico and she was thrown off a horse and she, I believe, broke some ribs and her back and she was in a hospital for a while and that is what caused her to suffer a miscarriage. And again, just as a reminder with Mars, which is action in the 6th house, which is all about wellness, but also work. And we know she's a Taurus and she shows up and she's hardworking. And with Mars in the 6th house, you're going to be busy. But all we can do is just make sure that we don't overdo it and that we are checking in and taking care of ourselves. And just to say, yes, Audrey unfortunately passed at a very early age. She had such a full life and she continued to act throughout her life. But more importantly, she did a lot of philanthropy work with UNICEF, which I believe is where she always wanted her legacy to live and our favorite movies. But more than that, I think she would want us to remember that she was always helping. And that's a beautiful message. So what do you guys think of Audrey's chart? Let me know what you found interesting about her birth chart. And also, if you liked this episode, please leave a message in the comments and let me know how you felt. And also, don't forget to tap that subscribe button on YouTube for even more content. And also, let me know who you would like me to cover next. StarStruck is an Open Mind original powered by Pave Studios. At Open Mind, we value your support. Share your thoughts on social media and remember to rate, review, and follow StarStruck wherever you get your podcasts. For ad-free listening and early access to StarStruck with Ally Lewber, we invite you to subscribe to Open Mind Plus on Apple Podcasts. Next Wednesday will be another new episode with even more cosmic insights. See you then, starlets. Keep shining.